The UMX A10 is awesome, but it's missing that one thing that makes the Warthog legendary. Today, we're fixing that. We're adding our own custom flashing gun light right into the barrel of our scaled down flying gun. Let's fire it up. All we're going to need for this mod is the EP2, a 5-volt regulator, an old potentiometer from a servo, an LED, and of course, some heat shrink and some extra wires. You're also going to need a transmitter that can handle both ELRS and spectrum. So in this case, the Radiomaster Zorro has an internal ELRS module, as well as an external module that's the 4-in-1 Radiomaster transmitter, and that can handle the spectrum connections. This will talk to the plane, and the inside will talk to the EP2. In order to upload the correct firmware to this EP2, we're going to have to give it some power. I'm going to use this normal servo connector in order to give power via this servo tester so we can upload the correct firmware. Once we have our power wires connected, we can connect it up to our servo tester, and then we should see these fun lights pop up. Now we're looking for this little green light which is flashing on the bottom, you can see here, and once it starts flashing rapidly, we can take it over to our computer and upload the firmware. And this is the quick flash we're looking for. Once we have the flashing lights on our EP2, we can go over to the Express LRS configurator and download the build that we want. So we're going to start with 3.3.2. There are newer versions, but I'm confident that the system works in 3.3.2, and that's what we're going to go with. Down at device category, it's going to be the Happy Model 2.4 gigahertz, and our device is the EPW5, the PWM RX. Now we can click Wi-Fi. We don't need a binding phrase. The 2.4 gigahertz standard is just fine. And then we can click build. Now this should build and download. And you can see here, we have our firmware popping up just fine. So then we are going to go up. And if you click on your Wi-Fi, you should see an Express LRS RX. We're going to click on that in order to join it. And in just a second, you should see a screen pop up indicating that we have connected to our EP2. And so I'm going to go down to update, and then we're going to select that file that we just had. We can do that also by dragging this firmware onto our screen. Now we've got the firmware bin GZ. We can click update, and we can just wait until it's done here. And now, just like it says, we're going to wait for the LEDs to keep on blinking before we start up. And this screen went away because the board does restart by itself. And so we are going to just wait a second for the lights to continue blinking, and then we'll be right back at it. Once we have the super rapid flashing lights, again, we can go over to our browser and we can access our EP2 directly. So we're going to go 10.0.0.1, and we hit enter. We should connect to our EP2. This is again via the browser. You also have to be connected to the Express LRS Wi-Fi in order to access this page. So connecting there, and then we can see we now have, instead of joining via this pop-up, we can go directly there via the website. And now we can see that we are now running the Happy Model EPW5, the PWM RX, which is looking great. And we can see that on our model, we've got our channels 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and our fail safes are all in the middle. This is looking great. And one last thing we can test is going back into our browser and going into our page up here and going over to 10.0.0.1/hardware.html. Hit enter, and now we can see this is the hardware file, and if we go down, we can see that our PWM output pins are 0, 1, 3, 9, and 10, which is exactly what we need in order to get our PWM signal to our potentiometer and thus to our lights. So this is a complete updated firmware of the EP2. Now that our firmware is correctly flashed onto the EP2, we can take off this temporary power wires. Our first step is going to be navigating over to the IARC repo page. This is our GitHub page where we have all of our code. Then we're going to go down to the a10gun.lua file, click on it, and this is the actual Lua script that we're going to be running. Then right up here we see this little download raw file button. We're going to click on that, and it's going to download up here. Then we're going to go over to the SD card from your transmitter. As you can see here, this is my Radiomaster Zorro's SD card, and these are all the files on it. We're then going to go into the scripts folder, and then the mixes folder. And all we have to do is drag this a10gun.lua script into this folder. And just like that, we've got our custom Lua script on our transmitter. Let's set up our transmitter. First, we got to make sure that our Lua scripts are actually enabled by the firmware. So we're going to click System. We're going to page over until we get to Transmitter Setup, or Radio Setup. Now we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom and we'll see this little drop down that you might miss if you're not careful. It's going to say Enabled Features. Right here, Enabled Features. And now if it looks like this, all you got to do is open it up. See, this tab is closed. If you click it, you can open it. And we're going to scroll down until we find Lua scripts. Custom scripts, there we go. And right now it says on, but that check mark isn't checked. So we got to make sure that our check mark is checked and it says on, and that way we know that our custom scripts are available to be used by the transmitter. Now we can return all the way back to our main screen. Now we can click model, and we're going to go, oh, this is the UMX A10 model that I want to use. So I'm going to click page over. And now we got to set up our receivers. We're using an internal ELRS transmitter and an external 4-in-1 module. So I'm going to scroll down until we get to our transmitters here, our internal RF. So again, this is going to be our Crossfire, our ELRS. So all I did is change it to CRSF. Now, if we go down to our external RF, this is our multi-module. So we're going to set it to just that. We're going to find multi. And we're going to go down one further, and type is going to be DSM. So we're just going to scroll around until we find it. All right, DSM. Now we're going to scroll down one more time, and this is going to be X2F. Just like that. Now normal is just fine. And now our channels, although this board is a 4-channel receiver, there's throttle, aileron, elevator, rudder, there is also the safe channel. So this is actually going to be channel range is going to be 1 through 6. So we'll scroll this all the way down, 1 through 6. And we'll notice if we scroll back up, we need to change this channel range. So it's not 1 to 16. It's actually going to be 7 to 16, or I guess 7 to however high it wants to go, because we won't have any ability to control those channels. But this should just start at 7 because that's where the Spectrum transmitter ends. So we're going to scroll back down. Let's make sure everything's looking good, 1 through 6. And then this is where we'll be able to bind to our receiver when the time comes. Keep scrolling down, low power, yep, this all looks good, no channel map. And that's all we need to set up the transmitter modules within our transmitter. Next, we can go all the way back out. We're going to hold return, go back to our main page. So then we're going to click model, and we're going to page over until we find the inputs tab. And these are our normal stock 4 channels that we're going to need to control the plane. Again, throttle, aileron, elevator, and rudder. Those are all fine. But next, we're going to put safe on channel 5. So I'm going to long press, and we're going to change our input to safe, or SAF, because we only have 3 characters. So safe, and then I like putting this on the SB switch. So I'm going to click in there, and we're just going to flick this so it knows that it's SB. And now we are able to control our safe with the back channel here. Now you might think that we're going to have to add an input for our gun light, but that's actually not the case. There's no input needed in order to control the guns. And we're going to go one more page over until the mixes tab. And again, we're going to have to add a mix in for our safe. So I'm just going to click once. And we can leave it everything totally how it is, and click return. And as you can see, we now have that input, and all this is saying is that the channel 5 input is the exact same and passed through the mixes. We don't have to do anything about that. After we have our channel 5 mix, we can scroll down 2 more until channel 7, where we can long press and change this mix name to Gun M, which stands for Gun Mix. Now we can leave this source alone for now, but we will come back for it. But we're going to scroll down until we get to the switch, which I'm going to make this SD button on the back. So I'm going to click it one time, and you can see it sets it to SD down, meaning when I hold the button down, I want the gun to go. Now we're going to hit return, return, return back to our mixes page, and we're going to page over one time until we get to the outputs. Now we can scroll down to the channel 7 output, long press, hit edit, and we're going to change this name to gun. Then we can hit return, return, until we're back at our outputs tab, and now we're going to have to page over until we find the custom scripts screen. There it is. Now we can click on the first Lewis script, click again, scroll down to find our A10 gun, then scroll down to our inputs. Now this is going to be our gun output that we just created. So we're going to scroll across until we find gun. Once we have gun, we can return back, and we're going to go back to our mixes tab that I said we were going to go back to. So find mixes, scroll down to channel 7, long press, hit edit. Now this source is going to be our Lewis script that we just created. So we're going to long press on min, go down to Lewis scripts, and it's gun value. Now if we long press on return and return, return, get back to our normal model screen, we're going to power cycle. That just makes sure that the transmitter has everything taken care of. Now we're going to hit model and scroll over to our outputs tab. Scroll down to gun, and as I hold down this SD button in the back, you'll see up at the top here that this will rapidly change. It's going really quick in between 1000 and 2000, but that will cause our potentiometer to tell our light to turn on and off really quickly, thus giving us the light flash. So that is our transmitter completely set up. Now this whole procedure is pretty easy. I just took a standard 9-gram servo, and after taking out all 4 of the screws on the bottom, the entire thing comes apart, and you can remove these top gears that normally are used, but we're not going to use them at all. Then you'll notice that this motor at the bottom is attached in 2 different places. These are the 2 pads where you will attach your LED later, so just make note of that. Then you're just going to have to hack away at this plastic, and then out will pop your potentiometer. And just take note of, again, those servo wires, because that's what we're going to use to connect to our EP2. On our 5-volt regulator, it clearly has on the back the input and the output side. The input is going to come from our XT30, where we plug in the battery to our plane, and that's going to be supplying power to this whole system. On the output side, we're going to have to connect up our EP2 and our potentiometer. So as I lay this down, we can see also there's a positive and negative, and all we're going to do is connect up this bottommost pad to the ground and the secondmost pad to the red, and then the black and the red from the potentiometer are going to collect to black and red. Then all we have to do is connect this yellow signal wire from our potentiometer onto this 3rd pad right above the red pad. Next, we've got to connect our LED to our potentiometer on the back side where the motor connects to the potentiometer. There are these 2 pads right here. You can connect the red and the black to either one of these 2 pads. Doesn't matter, just make sure that one's on black, one's on red. And one last thing we can add to this 5-volt regulator is that if you did the FPV mod from our last tutorial, you have this really long adapter that would be coming from the back of the plane, but we can now just power this camera directly from the 5-volt regulator. So what I'm going to do is just cut our adapter so it's shorter, connect the black and red, and that's all we need to do. Next up, we've got to connect our power source into our 5-volt regulator. Now, if you followed our first tutorial on how to add FPV to this UMX A10, you will know that we already switched out the stock Spectrum plug with this XT30. And this is exactly what we want, but instead we're going to cut out these 2 pieces of heat shrink, splice in 2 more wires so that we can get power from this XT30 straight to our 5-volt regulator, and then we can tape on the regulator onto this side to keep everything out of the way. So we're going to want this LED to sit inside of this barrel. So what we're going to do is take a drill and hollow out this barrel until we can gain access in this front canopy part, and then we'll be able to fish all the wires and hot glue the LED in place. All right, so now we've got a nice hole in the front here, and that should be just wide enough that if we fish this LED in through the back, it'll poke out just enough through the front. You can also see on the inside here, we did breach through the canopy just a little bit, which is exactly what we wanted. There's a little gap here, so all I'm going to do is take my tweezers here and widen out this hole so I can fish the LED in through the back. All right, and just like that, our LED is in place. So all I did was take that drill bit and widened out this hole as well as a screwdriver, and it was just kind of marring out the foam so it's wide enough to fit this LED. As you can see at the very end, we've got our LED sticking right out. Now all we have to do is rewire in our LED to our potentiometer. And just like that, we've got our electronics all put together. So I'm going to put just a double-sided piece of tape on the back of this 5-volt regulator, and we can stick it on this inside wall. There we go. And then all we have to do is fish in our LED and stick down these two electronics, and then we're good to test. Just like that, we've got a really cool looking gun light. I mean, come on. That's pretty sweet for such a small plane. And as we're wrapping up here, YouTube just released this hype button. So in addition to liking, you guys can hype our videos from the last 7 days, which gives it points, which can help these videos land on a new leaderboard with other top videos. And you guys can really help fuel our success. So if you want to, it's right there. It's only on mobile, but you can help boost our videos and we would really appreciate it. Speaking of appreciate it, we really appreciate you guys watching this video. This project was super fun. If you have other planes or other ideas like this, please make sure to drop it in the comments. I want to give a quick thanks to our members. You guys are the reason we're able to do these fun projects. But thank you so much for watching and stick around for more videos like this.